Hi, everyone, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, sister. 2026. Crazy.
Hmm. Time flies, as they say, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Anyways, we're really glad that you're here with us as we step into this new year together.
Yes, we are so glad you decided to tune in. And I think there's something about the start of a year that always make you pause a little, isn't there?
Hmm.
I mean, even if life doesn't magically reset, there is still this feeling that you're standing in between what was and what's becoming in a way.
I think so too. There's this feeling that you're entering something new, even if nothing really looks different, except for packing away all the Christmas decorations.
Yeah, that's
you
true.
know?
I always love to put it away. I think it's kind of freeing. I prefer cleaning over decorating any day, to be honest.
Hmm. I think we're different in that way. Because I do love Christmas so much and all the decor that makes it all so much cozier. I enjoy myself when I put everything up. But I agree. It feels nice come January to put it all away. It feels like starting fresh. My house feels cleaner in a way.
Yeah.
But I feel like we can say that a new year doesn't erase what came before, though it does invite reflection. It makes you look back and ahead sometimes at the same time.
Yeah, and I think that's why today's episode feels like it belongs right here at the beginning of a year, because it's not about resolutions or fixing yourself. It's more about noticing where you actually are and who you are, also, maybe.
Hmm. This episode feels personal to me. It's about pausing and asking what actually matters to you right now and who you want to grow into this year, also, maybe.
Yeah, definitely. And this isn't something you plan to think about in a way. I mean, you're just living your life, and suddenly you might notice you're asking different questions. You may start questioning yourself and your choices and where you're headed in a way.
Yeah, because life doesn't usually change us all at once in one day.
No.
It happens gradually through life in general, through mm, with myself moves and changes, through relationships, through illness and hardship, and through becoming responsible for other people, also, maybe. And then suddenly you catch yourself thinking, wait, when did this version of myself show up?
Yeah, and maybe even more direct. What happened here? What happened to the version I thought I'd become?
Hmm. Who am I now? And that's what we're circling around today. Identity. What it looks like when it shifts or changes, or when it quietly slips out of your pocket somewhere along the way.
I think a lot of us assume identity is something solid. Like once you've found yourself, you're done, kind of. This is me, here I am, grounded and secure. But then life keeps happening, and suddenly what felt stable doesn't quite fit anymore.
Hmm. And sometimes the identity loss isn't loud or dramatic because that is what it is, an identity crisis. And it doesn't have to be big things or total breakdowns. It might just sneak in as this quiet, low level discomfort, like you're slightly out of sync with your own life.
And I think it's worth saying that this kind of discomfort can actually teach you something. At least it has for me, because it makes you pause and reflect and notice patterns instead of just moving forward without really thinking. So it can also be an awakening, kind of.
That's so true if you actually notice it. And I think that's something we realize through this podcast as well. We keep coming back to the same themes: grief, change, responsibility, meaning, not because we're stuck, but because life keeps meeting us there in new ways. We reflect on them.
Yeah, and maybe that's also why repetition isn't a bad thing. Repetition is how understanding deepens. You don't hear something once and get it. You live it again and again from different angles, and I don't know, you live and you learn.
Hmm. You live and you learn. That is so true. This past year has definitely added new angles for both of us.
Yeah. For me, to try to sum it up, this past year has been about trying to live a full, rich life while also sharing it with someone who is seriously ill. And we both have found kind of a balance in all that. We've been traveling back and forth to treatments, and we've had hard times and good times, ups and downs. But we also have managed to travel and explore and experience in general, just the two of us.
Hmm.
And we are basically trying to make the most out of life despite everything. And personally, for me, I am choosing peace and quiet more and more because I need to for my inner peace. So I just tried to slow down even more this past year, I guess, just choosing my bait differently, if I can say it like that.
Hmm.
And that's okay. I'm hanging in there.
Yeah. I think, or it seems to me that you have found a good balance in life despite it all. And that is really comforting to know for us around you, too, I must say.
Yeah.
Um, and for me, it's been a year of big family changes. I mean, my oldest moving to Norway, she's lived there for over a year now, and my middle daughter being diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. So that was our full year of living with that. And there's been moments where life suddenly asks more emotionally, practically, and mentally. I think that's how my
Yeah,
year has been summed up.
for sure. A lot of things have happened, and none of that comes without cost, right? I mean, even when life in general is good, even when you're grateful.
That is so true. You don't necessarily think about it, but change always asks something of your identity: who you are, how you see yourself, what you contribute to that situation, what you're proud of, and so on.
And sometimes the identity that shifts the most is maybe the one tied to, I don't know, independence, work, visibility. I mean, the parts of ourselves we thought would always be there.
Exactly. Which brings me to something I've been struggling to say out loud, actually, because it makes me, I don't know, a little bit uncomfortable, or it seems like I'm something I really don't want to be associated as. Honestly, it makes me cringe a little.
Now, I'm guessing our listeners are curious and maybe slightly scared. Go
Maybe.
for it.
Well, apparently, according to the internet, I fit into something people call a tradwife.
Hmm.
So, yeah. Okay, I'm going to start with something that, like I said, makes me cringe to my core. According to the internet, like I said, I am what people call a tradwife, a term I honestly despise. But here I am. That is me, apparently. I mean, maybe this sounds like excuses, but I left my job, sold my house, and moved across the world, unable to work at first. Then we had more babies, then another move, and then another move. And then somehow the life that I thought I would have slipped away, if I can say that.
Yeah, I get it. Honestly, I think you're touching on something a lot of people feel, but almost no one dares to say out loud because the second you do, it feels, I don't know, risky, like you'll be judged, misunderstood, or put in some box you never chose for yourself. So I'm really glad you're saying it because this isn't just your story. It's about how life can slowly move you into a place you never planned for. And then one day you look around you and think, wait, how did I get here? So yeah, let's actually talk about it. Bring it.
Okay, then. So, hear me out. I never imagined that would be part of my identity, I should say. I didn't picture myself as a stay at home mom, or maybe I should say stay at home partner. But then life just happened. We moved, there was visa restrictions, we had kids, we moved again, and the life that I thought I'd have, I mean, the career, the independence, the sense of contributing in a visible way, making money, not just spending them. It just kind of dissolved. Yeah.
I actually had to Google the word Tradwife because when you first said it and we planned for this episode, I honestly thought you said trade wife. And I was like, oh, wait, what?
I might actually have said that also because I think that's what I called it first. And I always say things wrong.
Yeah, so I
But
was like, are you in some kind of husband exchange program now? I didn't get it at first, to be honest.
I guess that's not for me. That's how ridiculous this whole thing feels. But the word is tradwife, not trade, obviously.
Got it. Yeah, obviously. But I honestly must say I had to look it up, and the internet told me that a trad wife is basically a woman who embraces this super traditional 1950s style domestic role, staying home with the kids, managing the house, cooking, cleaning. I mean, the whole retro package.
Yes. That's definitely me. Walking around in this big dress with my hairs in curlers,
Yeah, some
cleaning and
definitions
dusting.
even say she's supposed to be submissive to her husband, which I'm sorry, but that made me, I don't know, cringe to my core, as you said, because if
Yeah,
anyone thinks you're submissive to anyone, they need a medical evaluation.
exactly. And that I'm definitely not. I mean, my husband would probably love that though, wouldn't he? No, actually, no, no, no. He wouldn't. And all joking aside, though, that's part of why it feels so wrong. I don't want to be associated with this. I mean, it's a label with all this political and cultural weight that I never actually asked for. But I can't deny that from the outside, parts of my life do look like that stereotype. Even though none of it was a deliberate choice, it was logistics and rules, laws, immigration rules, childcare realities, really, starting over, blah, blah, blah. You get the picture.
Yeah, I do. But when learning what this means, I think, no, you are not a trad wife, as you say. And
Mhm.
I have never thought of you in that way. I mean, anyone who knows you would agree with me too. But I still get what you mean. It's an identity change for sure. It is, of course.
Maybe a modern Tradwife.
Yeah, maybe. But what I found out was that this is actually quite common. I mean, you moved abroad and your life just evolved this way. So while Googling, I found a study saying around one third of women who move abroad for or with their partner end up stepping back from their own career. Not because they want to, but because visas, language, and childcare, as you say, make it nearly impossible at first. So it's not a personal failing, it's a structural one, if that helps.
Hmm. That actually does help.
Yeah.
You know, knowing that it's not just me. But still, I mean, of course, when that structure pushes you out of the workforce, you don't just lose a job, you lose a part of your identity, a part I didn't realize that I would miss this much. Not at all, actually. And now I think that I'm grieving that version of me, the one I thought that I would grow into. Even though I don't really know what I would do or work with her, you know?
Yeah, but that grief is totally legit, and I get it because it's definitely stirring up some identity issues. And I mean, you can be grateful for your life and mourn the paths you didn't get to take. Those two truths can sit side by side, so I guess
Yeah.
it can be a mix of both.
Hmm. And of course, I love my family and also the life that I do have now. I am so grateful. But I also miss myself, though.
Okay, so when you really sit with it, what's the part that hits you the hardest? What do you feel like you lost the most along the way?
Hmm. I don't really know. Maybe just a different version of myself. I'm not really sure what I had pictured, but I always imagined that I would be working, contributing, and building something that was mine, making my own money. And now I sometimes catch myself wondering, what do I actually do? And then it turns into this bigger, heavier thought. What would my kids think? Will they look at me one day and ask, "So, what did my mom do with her life?" And that question sits really deep if I think about it like that.
Yeah, I can understand that because on one hand, you're holding everything together because you do. You create the rhythm of everyday life for yourself and for your family. And you're kind of the glue in so many ways. But I also think that when you don't feel okay on the inside, no explanation from the outside really lands, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. And motherhood adds this whole extra layer too, because it's not just about me, it's also about being a role model for them. I want my kids to look up to me, but some days I honestly wonder, what do they see? Do they see strength, or do they see someone who's kind of disappearing along the way? Like some days I feel like.
Yeah, I hear you. And I know that fear. But I don't think kids measure you by titles or CVs. They don't care what you answer when someone asks, "So, what do you do?" They care
Yeah.
about how you make them feel and how you show up, that you love them, that you're there consistently. I mean, you are their entire world, whether you realize it or not, and that counts more than any label.
Yeah, I know. But still, the fear is real and the guilt is real. And the identity loss, it kind of sneaks up on you. It doesn't just come in one dramatic moment. It just creeps in quietly, kind of, over the years. Now you get up early in the morning to pack lunches and sign school forms and drive them to school and pick them up again. That's when the thoughts just come. Like, when did I stop recognizing myself from who I was? Who am I? Where did I go? Kind of. It sounds very dramatic, I know. And I also feel like maybe it's an age thing too. I actually think it's normal to have reflections like this over who have I become when you reach a certain age. Or maybe I hope that's the case, not just me throwing everyone under the bus, reflecting
Definitely.
in your 40s.
I think that's quite normal. And
Yeah.
actually, thank you for saying that out loud, really, because that takes courage to admit that kind of quiet loss and to not dress it up or rush past it. Because what you're describing, it's very honest and it's not dramatic or self pitying, it's real. It's what happens when life slowly asks more of you than you ever expected to give without really checking in along the way. And I've been there too, or I am. And I just want to say this clearly to all of you listening. Nothing about what you're saying sounds like someone who failed or disappeared. It sounds like someone who showed up again and again for her kids, for her family, for life, even when it costs something inside. I mean, come on, you are the glue to our family and so good at getting everyone together and feel loved. And that's something to be proud of, really. But maybe that's the hardest part, that this kind of loss doesn't come with a clear moment or a clear name. It just builds quietly while you're being responsible, loving, and capable.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that, actually, because that's exactly it. I don't feel like a failure. It's not that. It's just something that's been on my mind lately, and what better place to get it off my chest than here on our podcast?
True.
Yeah. So maybe now by saying it out loud will make me feel better or heard, because sometimes I feel like I have to explain myself, like this is why I'm not working. It sounds very silly. I do definitely know that. And
Definitely not. I will say thank you again. I'm proud of you. I think you are brave for doing this.
thank you.
De nada.
Yes. So then over to the judgment, real or imagined. Because sometimes it's obvious, sometimes it could just be a look or a pause. People who assume that being home automatically means she has no ambition, or people who say, you're so lucky. And I mean, yes, I am lucky. I do know that. But something can be a privilege and still feel wrong for you at the same time. And both things can be true.
Yeah.
And it gets especially complicated when people ask that question we all get asked. So, what do you do? Because
Mm.
suddenly it's like your whole worth is supposed to fit into one sentence. And when you don't have a clear, socially approved answer, you feel exposed, I think I can say. Like, I have to explain myself why I'm home or
Mm.
defend myself. Sounds so silly because mostly it's probably in my head, but
No,
that's what I feel.
yeah, I totally get it. And honestly, I think so many people will recognize that feeling. I do too. That
Mhm.
moment where the conversation turns and you feel yourself shrink a little because work has become such a huge part of how we define ourselves and also each other. It's often the first thing we ask each other. It's like what you're saying. What do you do? Where do you work?
Hmm. That's it. I get it. It's a great conversation starter.
It is. But it's almost like we think that answer tells us who someone is. And I get that because work really does shape us. It gives us structure, routine, a sense of purpose. It's where we use our skills in a way, where we're seen, where we contribute. So, of course, it becomes part of our identity. But at the same time, I'm not just a nurse. That's my title, but it's not the sum of who I am. I'm also a sister, a mother, a widow, a partner, a friend, and so much more.
Mhm.
And I'm someone who has loved deeply, lost deeply, and learned a lot the hard way also. And all of that exists regardless of my job title.
Yeah. And that's exactly the tension, isn't it? Because even when we know we're more than our job, that title still matters. It's how the world places you, how people understand you, and sometimes how you understand yourself too.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, totally. When that title disappears or changes or just doesn't fit anymore, it can suddenly feel like you're harder to place in a way for other people, but also for yourself. And that's unsettling, not because you've lost your value, but because one of the ways you used to recognize yourself is suddenly gone. And I think that sits underneath so many of these conversations. It's not really what do I do? It's who am I when the label changes? It
Hmm.
raises a lot of questions.
Yeah. Exactly. It's like suddenly all those little definitions you carried, what you do, how you contribute, they feel a bit unsteady. And you start questioning yourself in ways you never did before, even if deep down you know you're still you.
Yeah. And I also think it's important to remember that you're standing in between two very different cultures, and that makes this even harder.
Yeah.
In Norway, you were raised to be independent, to work, to contribute, but you're also supported in a completely different way. I mean, the system here actually helps families. We have affordable childcare, parental leave, social benefits. So having kids doesn't automatically mean you have to give up working. So that's a big difference.
Mm, right. When you compare Norway and the US, the difference is actually huge. Here, childcare and child related expenses are so expensive that sometimes it honestly makes no sense to work, which sounds completely absurd when you say it out loud. But that's the reality for so many families. You can't afford to work.
Mm,
So, in that context, staying home becomes less of a choice and more of a necessity. And that helps me understand my own situation a bit better too. Doesn't completely fix how it feels inside sometimes. But now my kids are older. I don't need daycare anymore. I don't have to drive them to school anymore. And I'm allowed to work with my green card. So we will see what the future holds. I mean, I am the CEO of my own life after all, at least
you
on
are.
good days.
Well said, and so true.
Mhm. Yeah,
I
that's
love
true.
that. But don't forget, your job is now being a podcaster. So I basically gave you a job. So now
Oh.
let's focus on that.
That is very true. And I will do my best to make us go viral.
Sounds good to me. But back to what you said about people envying that, being able to or having the privilege to be a stay at home mom when the kids are growing up. That is a thing, a real fact, because some people really would have wanted that.
Yeah.
So it is kind of a dream life, also.
Yeah, for sure. I'm so happy that there wouldn't be another choice for me here, actually, because of all those things that you said about the differences in cultures and how expensive it is. It just wouldn't have made sense in any way.
Yeah,
So I think that's what makes it complicated because it is a privilege, but it doesn't mean that it was easy either, you know? And it's not the right choice for everyone. Some people want it deeply, and others never had the option to stay at home. I mean, you need to have several jobs to just cover those expenses because you just need an income. And some of us ended up here without really planning it too,
exactly. You can acknowledge the privilege without pretending it was perfect. That's totally fine.
or without feeling guilty for naming both sides of it.
I guess that's where we land with it, holding more than one truth at the same time, and that's okay.
Yeah. Respecting the privilege, acknowledging the longing, and still being honest about the reality of it.
Yeah, and letting that be enough for now.
I also have to say that moving changed me. When you move countries, you don't just change your address, you lose your community, your identity, your confidence shrinks, and suddenly you're in a new place where nobody knows you. No one knows what you've done or who you used to be. It's like starting from scratch with no manual. Could sound exciting, actually.
Yeah, sure. And it's not just the practical stuff you lose, it's the familiarity, the rhythm of your old life, the people who got you without needing explanations, and maybe then also a part of your identity with that, with
Yeah.
moving.
Mm. And it's exciting at first, just exploring. You have no job to go to, and you're just figuring out your new life. But when you have to put yourself out there all the time, especially if you're not overly social like me, it can be exhausting or draining. Back home, people just knew me. So it is an identity shift for sure.
Because suddenly you're the new person everywhere, even to yourself.
Hmm. That is it. But seriously, though, after each move, I felt like someone had erased me a little bit. Like, here we go again. It's almost like a chalkboard being wiped clean without asking. And now I'm trying to redraw myself, but I don't know where to start.
You
As
know
a
what's
tradwife
yeah.
in a dress with a duster.
You know what's funny? This may sound harsh or maybe the wrong thing to say here, but hearing you talk about being unknown and invisible, it sounds kind of amazing for me in some ways. Like, imagine being invisible. I mean, sometimes I would love that, really.
Yeah.
Living in a small city like I do, everyone knows your name, your family, your history, your entire emotional resume, especially now after everything and also after opening up on this podcast. Well, not that everyone listens to us or even care, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You can
It,
go to the grocery store without someone knowing exactly what year you bought your house, who you dated in high school, and what your grandma had for lunch, kind of. And that can some days be a bit overwhelming, to be honest.
yeah, when you say it like that, it sounds suffocating. Or, I mean, I get it. Though it's kind of comforting and beautiful too in one way, or it can be for some.
Yeah, it can be, of course. It's both. But there are days where I think, can I just walk somewhere and be no one for 5 minutes? And I know I make myself sound like a celebrity or something. You know what I mean? And go somewhere without the risk of meeting someone I know.
Yeah.
And there is, of course, a certain comfort in being anonymous and being able to reinvent yourself without an audience. But when you lived in one place your whole life, that feeling is like a fantasy or something. But of course, it brings a kind of safety also. Having this small community is also very comforting. So
Yeah, of
sounds like
course.
I'm complaining a lot now.
No, no, I understand what you mean. But for me, it's kind of the opposite because when I moved, I suddenly was invisible. And at first, it was liberating or just different and new. Like I said, nice to not have to rush to go to work and so on. But then it became lonely because nobody saw me, nobody recognized me or cared about my story. And I didn't realize how much of my identity came from being known, being connected until it was actually gone.
Hmm, I get that. And it sounds like we're basically craving opposite things now.
Yeah, I
I don't know.
guess. You want less visibility and I want more. See me.
And somewhere in the middle is the sweet spot, I guess.
That's
Being
right.
seen enough to feel like yourself, but free enough to grow without everyone keeping score.
That's the thing. And I think that's why rebuilding identity after moving is so hard. You're not just creating a new life, you're trying to find the right level of visibility again, the place where you feel real.
Mm. So where does that leave you now?
I think I'm somewhere in the middle now. I'm still grieving the person I thought I'd become to maybe being more curious about the person I'm becoming now. Maybe I'm also just getting used to it. I don't know. But I'm starting to feel like identity isn't lost, that it's just evolving. And maybe I'm allowed to rebuild, not go back, but rebuild something new, whatever that will be.
Yeah, sounds like a good idea. And I think that's where a lot of people are. Not broken, just unfinished in a way, at least us women in our 40s.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. That's the time we reflect the most, I think.
Charming.
Hmm. I really feel like I did a lot of complaining now, right? Jeez Louise. I have so much to be grateful for, and I know that.
Actually, I don't hear it as complaining. That's just you in your head. I think it's a really important topic. Or, I mean, when you choose to share this, I really think a lot of people, especially women around our age, of course, as I said, can relate. Losing yourself one way or another in midlife, midlife crisis. I think we all have them,
Yeah.
these thoughts.
Hmm. I think that's exactly it. Sometimes just saying it out loud, even the messy, uncomfortable stuff, makes you see it differently. And it's kind of freeing, isn't it, to admit that you don't have to have it all figured out and that maybe you're still figuring yourself out midlife.
Yeah, that's kind of what this is all about. We all need to share and dare to be open, even if it sometimes sounds like complaining in your own head. I think there's something to learn from that, as long as you don't get stuck there. And really, what better way to start the year than by getting it all out of your system and then go be the baddest boss lady of your own life?
I will. Thank you, girl.
Yeah, de nada.
So maybe we should end this episode with sharing some of our goals for 2026 or New Year resolutions, as they say.
Okay.
And I will go first with saying that I will try to put myself out there more, go out of my comfort zone when it comes to getting to know people and maybe get a new hobby. Geez, that sounds so cheesy, I know. Getting a hobby.
It really does. No,
Mm,
good for you. Go
thanks.
find a pottery class somewhere. No. But now you already started this journey, opening up here, and I think that's very brave of you.
Thanks again, sister. It feels quite good, to be honest. Not that scary. Um, but you, do you have any New Year's resolutions, or that is not for you? Maybe, of course.
Nah, I honestly haven't given it that much thought. But maybe I'm going to copy what one of my friends told me. This year I will drink more water. So there's that. And I love that answer because it doesn't have to be big and grand and complicated and dramatic.
Yeah, that is true, and I'll add
Mhm.
that in too because I have to drink more water. Actually,
Yeah. But on a serious note, I guess I will continue to live and love in 2026. And maybe also use my running shoes more. I don't know. We will see.
yeah. Actually, what I will 100% do this year, and I started already, is to organize my house room by room because I
Oh.
recently read that. Sorry, I just have to read this as I had to write it down. I read that removing physical clutter can often lead to a sense of mental clarity, providing a fresh perspective that makes the task of rebuilding your life more manageable. The
Oh,
physical act of letting go of unused items can translate into a mental and emotional release, making room for new beginnings and personal growth. So there's that.
that is a good one. Even though I feel like your house is always so clean and tidy, not much to do there.
Well, I'm very good at hiding our mess, and I think that's the thing. Do you know how many clutter drawers I have? It's like, yeah, it's too many cabinets and too many, yeah, just throwing it in there. It's taking over, I feel like, and I just need to start getting rid of the stuff that we don't use anymore. I think that's the thing. And like I said, I started already and I donated so much. And I love when my trash can become someone else's treasure.
Yeah, I love that. And decluttering sounds like a perfect plan. And I'm actually have to say I'm very good at that to
Oh,
organize. I wasn't before, but now I am. And it's freeing.
yeah, you are very good at that. And then my goal, I guess, is to be more like you. Can you come help me, please?
Ordering the next trip to Miami as we speak. But
Yes.
yeah, jokes aside, to wrap this all up, I think what we're really talking about here underneath everything I mean, the habits, the clutter, the resolutions, and all of it is our identity and who we are when the labels don't fit anymore. Or when a word like Tradwife suddenly lands on you and you don't recognize yourself in it at all.
Yeah, because it's never really about the label. It's about the fear of being misunderstood or misunderstanding yourself, of waking up one day and wondering when life took this turn, and also whether it still counts as your life.
Exactly. And maybe that's the thing we want to leave you with, that identity isn't fixed. It's not a job title. It's not what people ask at dinner parties. It's something that shifts and stretches, pauses, and sometimes hides for a while.
So if you're listening and you feel like you lost yourself, maybe to motherhood, moving, illness, separation, grief in general, or just life happening really fast, you're not alone. Your identity didn't disappear and might just be waiting for you to come meet it again in a new form.
And maybe the life you didn't choose is still shaping you into someone strong and wise and grounded, even if she's or he or they is still figuring themselves out
Yeah, and that's loud and completely normal.
completely. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time on Grief and Life as We Know It.
Yes.
Nina had a dream, all black and white. We were talking in English, yeah, that ain't right. Two Norwegian sisters miles apart, but that dream lit a fire, put a mic to the heart. Katrine's in the States, Nina's back home. Two voices, one mission through the microphone. Grief and life, the highs and the lows. We hit record, uh-oh, where the file go? Oh, we fumble, we stumble, but baby we shine. Lost the intro, never mind. Wi-Fi shaky, cables crossed, but our hearts stay strong, no moment lost. From a dream to the mic, now the world can hear. Two sisters telling truths with a laugh and a tear. We live, we learn, we sip, we sigh. Talking love, talking lost, let the echoes fly. Grief walks in, pulls up a chair, says I'll stay a while, yeah, life ain't fair. But we mix it with laughter, a toast in hand, finding light where the dark still stands. Ba-da-da-boo-doo, is this thing on? Mic's on mute, oh well, move along. Ba-ba-dee, ba-ba-da, take two. Oops, too late, let's laugh it through. From a dream to the mic, now the world can hear. Two sisters telling truths with a laugh and a tear. We live, we learn, we sip, we sigh. Talking love, talking lost, let the echoes fly. So plug in, lean in, let's take our time. No script, no filters, just rhythm and rhyme. We're here, we're now, we're in our prime. Two sisters, one dream, on the mic we shine.